Welcome to Creative Tian channel. Today I'm going to show you how to decrease stitches on a knitting machine. Last time we talked about increasing. Decreasing is similar. We have simple decrease and the full fashion decrease. And I will also show you how to do the increase and decrease in the middle of a row using a garter bar. I have a little sample of stockinette stitches here. The easiest way to decrease is by simply move one stitch to the next stitch. So we transfer the stitch to the next, and we keep the first stitch to the A position, so it's auto work, so you will not knit. You can do that on both left side and right side. Place the needle back to the B position and the first needle back to the A, so you will not knit, and we just knit as usual. I will decrease this way for a few rows so I can show you later. The next method is a full fashion decrease. Similar to the full fashion increase, we need to use a transfer tool, either 2-prong, 3-prong, or even more, 4 or 5, it doesn't matter. So the idea is to decrease so the overlapping stitch will be inside of the fabric instead of the stitch on the outermost needle. So here I use the 3-prong. And basically, I just transfer stitches, one stitch over, and place all the needles back to the B position and the empty needle back to A. And we can do the same on the left side. Open all the latches and transfer one stitch over, so the third needle has 2 yarns, and then we knit 2 rows. Now if we want to increase or decrease in the middle of the row, it will be a little bit more complicated. If it's at the edge, the beginning and the end, it's easier to move the stitches around. When it's in the middle, the easiest way is to use a garter bar to move the stitches. Because we need to move many stitches, so the garter bar can help us move the stitches. This one is made by Chris Crafter. It's for 6.5mm LK150. Because each model is different, you have to double check to make sure your garter bar matches your knitting machine. For the standard gauge garter bar, you can usually find it on eBay. It's not very expensive. Each garter bar has slightly different design. This one is very simple and straightforward. It looks the same on both front and back, and it's just one piece. Some of them have a stopper, so you can keep all needle in one position when you are trying to manipulate in the front. So we'll start with increase. For example, if I want to increase 3 stitches, one here, the 0, and one at the 5 on the right, and the other one around 5 on the left. Then I will need to clear out the space here, here, and here. So first I'm going to move the left 10 stitches, 1 stitch over. So this is my first stitch. I will move the needles out a little bit. Keep the latch open and just place the garter bar in the latch. And I will pull it out and push all the knitings to the back so it's behind the latch. And now we will close all the latches by pulling all the needles back. Now the latches are closed, and we keep pulling it. And I use my hand to help move all the stitches to the garter bar. Now I have all the stitches in the garter bar. I can lift it up. So this is like a bigger transferring tool. Instead of transferring 2 or 3 stitches at once, I can transfer 10 or more stitches at once. So I just move 1 stitch over, so there will be 1 empty needle in the middle. So we will pull out 1 new stitch and place the garter bar to the open latch, like that. And we just flip the garter bar and move it with your left hand into the open latch. Once we make sure it's all in, we can take the garter bar out. Now we just moved 1 stitch over. And for example, if we want to have 1 more space here between the 5th and 6th stitches, we can use the garter bar again. So I pick up the stitches on the left, pull it out, make sure all the latches are open, and push it in. Now the latches are closed. And I use my hand to help moving stitches to the garter bar. And take it off, transfer it 1 stitch over, and pull out 1 needle. Open the latch and transfer all the stitches back to the needle. So that's it. Now we can increase a stitch in those empty needles. I will do 1 more time on the right side. The center one is empty needle. I place it back to the A position. And then you have to decide which stitch you want to have an extra space. So I pull out rest of the needle, pull all the needles back. Now the latches are closed. And we'll try to pull all the stitches to the garter bar. And then lift it up, move 1 stitch over to the right, add 1 extra stitch, make sure you open the latch, and place the needles back. Now we have 1 empty stitch in the middle. You can decide what to do with that stitch. Now we can increase stitch. Here is the center. I will pick up the next stitch and place on the empty needle. And we will do the same on the other 2 empty needles. Pick up the horizontal bar, place on the empty needle. It's the same here. Pick up the horizontal bar in the next stitch, place on the empty needle in the open latch. Now we can start knitting. I'll push all the needles to D position and start knitting a few rows. So we just increased 3 stitches, and I will increase a few times so you can see it better after I take off the machine. That's one stitch increased. One stitch over, add one new stitch. Now this is an empty needle, and we'll do one more time on the right side. I can leave 5 stitches in the center. Move one stitch over, add one stitch at the end. Make sure the latch is open, it'll be easier. Move the stitch back. Now we have 3 more empty spaces we can increase. So we'll increase one more time. Pick up the horizontal bar. Put to the empty needle. Do the same. And I will need a few rows. Now we will show you how to do the decrease with a garter bar when the stitches are in the middle. This is very common when you are shaping the crown of a hat. You want to decrease evenly, maybe every 6 stitches or 8 stitches. Here I want to show the same. I will decrease one in the center and then one about 6 stitches on both sides. So I will start with the one in the center. I have half of the needles on the garter bar. I'll pull it out. Push all the stitches behind the latch. And then close the latch. Move all the stitch to the garter bar. Okay, leave it up. And we will overlap the center stitch. So we move one stitch to the right. And I will put away the last stitch, place it to the A non-working position. And we do the same way. Place all the stitches back to the needle. And then take the garter bar out. So we have an overlap stitch in the center. That means one stitch decreased. Now we want to decrease another stitch here. I keep 6 stitches here and then transfer the rest of the stitch to the garter bar and then move one stitch over to the right. Take out the last stitch. Now one more stitch decreased. And I will do the same on the right side. I leave 6 stitches here. I will transfer the rest of the stitches. Close the latch. All stitches on the garter bar. And move one stitch to the left. So it will overlap on the first stitch. You can take off the last needle. Okay, now we have 3 stitches reduced. I will need a few rows and do it one more time. Here we have the simple decrease, and this is a full fashion decrease. You can see there are a few more edge stitches. I should have 3 stitches on each side that's slanted. Depends on your project, you can use either method, but the full fashion one usually has a better finish, so it's usually recommended. And here is the increase and decrease with a garter bar. First we have the increase and then decrease. You can see it creates a little extra fabric here. And here it's kind of like a diamond shape. So that's how we increase in the middle of the row. Thank you for watching today and see you next time.